What's up, Crimson Squad? This is Amy Crimson, and you're watching Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is Don Kincaid with the Kincaid Files, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, baby.
C to the O to the D to the Y. This is Cody Hawk, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox. Sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., alongside Kaliko Yachts, who may come, may not come. It's always a 50-50 with him, but who's always here 100% of the time, Scooter Dust.
Roll Tide.
And it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the trainer of champions, Cody fucking Hawk.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you, Cody?
Doing all right. Just hanging out at the moment.
That's great. Could you tell us what you got coming up next?
Well, me personally, I'm a little bit out of action right now. I separated my shoulder yesterday, so the next 4 weeks off and not really do any wrestling. But I run Hawk Pro Wrestling Training Camp, and we're always running training there. And I also run Future Great Wrestling out of Hamilton, Ohio, where we run weekly studio-style shows every Friday night. And we will have shows every Friday night from now until eternity.
Yay.
Nice.
And where can we find you on social media as well, and some merchandise?
Let's see. You can find me on Facebook. It's wrestler.codyhawk. Twitter, it's Cody Effin Hawk. Instagram, it's Cody Effin Hawk. And that's the main places where you're going to find me.
And of course, all of those links will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. So you mentioned it. You're a part of Future Great Wrestling. Can you tell us about your relationship with them?
Well, I'm the trainer there. I'm kind of the backbone of the company. I started Future Great Wrestling with a business partner. He handles the financial end of things and all the business end of things. I handle all of the wrestling aspects of things. I write the shows. I bring in the talent and make sure that the shows come off without a hitch and keep all the boys and girls in line and run the locker room. Pretty much everything there.
All right. And Scooter, you have a question.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna age myself here, but of course, let's bring up the HWA, Heartland Wrestling Association. Les Thatcher, a legend in this business. HWA is essentially your proving ground, your background to a point. You even took control of the company. You bought it from Les a number of years ago.
2003.
Yes, thank you, James. I did have a friend who worked for HWA. Not sure if you're familiar with a guy named Neil Bisman.
Sure am.
Yep. Yep. Elementary school, junior high. Yep.
Yeah, he worked for us for a couple years. I believe he was from the New York area.
Yep, right, Queens. Right, we grew up together. But I wanna kick this off with something really, really maybe obscure, depending on how you look at it. All right, so I grew up in the age of when MTV was really catering to a younger audience, and there used to be a show on MTV called True Life.
Yep.
And one of the episodes was on being a pro wrestler, and one segment was focused on the HWA and Rory Fox.
Yep,
Do you-
that MTV True Life was if I'm not mistaken, I do believe it was the very first episode of True Life, and it was called True Life. I Am a Pro Wrestler, and it was featured on Rory Fox. It was actually supposed to be on a another kid out of Chicago who ended up just being sort of a waste of space drug addict and kind of flunked out early on. And then they switched gears and gave the ball to Rory Fox, and he kind of got his start there, and all of us had little segments there on the show, and it was you know, a good time. It's sort of the first major media thing that happened for HWA and got the ball really rolling for us.
All right. Now, can you elaborate a little more on your relationship with Les Thatcher?
Well, at the current moment, my relationship with Les is non-existent. Him and I had a falling out a few years ago, and
Um,
we've never been able to repair that, and that's you know, that's okay. I've tried on a couple occasions to repair it, and he was not interested. So we move on. You know, life keeps happening whether you want it to or not. So I moved on, he moved on, and that's that.
indeed, indeed. All right, all right. Thank you, James.
Now, you purchased, the HWA from us in 2003, like I mentioned. What brought that on to make you want to be a promoter? You were, was it just the fact that you wore every hat in the business at that point?
Well, I started in the business in 1996, and when HWA became part of the WWE developmental system in 2001, I was one of the few guys at HWA that was able to survive that time period and stay there. And we probably had a staff of 20 or so, and then when the contract guys came, that bumped up to nearly 100. And then when in 2002, July of 2002, WWE canceled our developmental deal, and all of those big name talents left. And it left HWA with about a staff of about 10 people. We were pretty well like hurt at that moment. Before the contract guys came, I was booking the shows and running some of the training classes. And after the contract guys left, I took over booking again and was running all of the training classes. And I was pretty much handling a lot of the day-to-day operations already. I was just making no money doing it. And Les had just gotten married at the time, and he was spending less and less time doing the things that needed to be done for the company. And myself and two other guys decided that we were going to, you know, make an offer and try to buy him out. We didn't know whether he'd go for it or not, but surprisingly he did, and we bought him out and we moved on.
All right. Scooter, you have a question?
Now, of course, you mentioned on the Big Name Talent 3 years, 5 years, I should say, into your career. The Monday Night Wars end, and HWA sees that influx boom of talent from WCW, including an infamous HWA versus WCW tag team match. How was the atmosphere of in the locker room, according to the HWA guys at the time? And was there ever a time where you thought that with this influx of talent, you know, being concentrated all in HWA, that it would be beneficial for your career going forward, that it would propel you to a an even
Well,
wider audience.
we were under contract with WWE for 1 year, so from July of 2001 to July of 2002. During that time frame, we were sent 6 guys from their Memphis developmental territory that they shut down. We were sent about a dozen guys from ECW when they bought ECW. We were sent about 40 guys or so from WCW, and then another, I don't know, a bunch of guys that were actually, WWE talent that were either rehabbing injuries or just trying to knock ring rust off or whatever. So it was an amazing time there at that 1 year at HWA. The level of talent was through the roof. It was very competitive and it was very cutthroat, and that's why I said earlier that a lot of guys didn't survive that time frame. I was one of the lucky ones. I was good enough, and I had a decent enough reputation with the guys that came in there, and I didn't get pushed to the side. I actually was able to survive and thrive during that time frame. It put those of us that stayed there and continued on. It pushed all of us because all eyes were on that product. There were talent agents at HWA weekly. They were watching all the matches, everything that all the shows that we did, all the footage went straight up to WWE. So we were being seen by lots of eyes and lots of important eyes that could give people like me a job. So it was, an opportunity. That's how I looked at it, as an opportunity, and I was going to make the most of it, and I did during that time frame. And like I said, I didn't get pushed out the door like so many of the other guys did, and I was able to secure myself some good matches with good talent, and make a little bit of money along the way as well.
Now, just to further elaborate on that, you are one of the absolute true successes of professional wrestling, that you really didn't come at, that really, you're not a creation of Vince's, of Titan. You were a true independent talent success story. So would it be safe to say that it was that not being pushed out the door, surviving this, I guess you could call it a purge of talent, that you realized that you were doing what you were doing so well that you realized you didn't necessarily need the validation of being, under a WWE spotlight, that you just loved doing what you were doing, and that's all that mattered?
Yeah, I mean, I was having a lot of fun. I was really enjoying it, and that atmosphere there, while it was very cutthroat, I was able to mesh with a lot of the guys that were there, and it brought my talent level up a ton. I was able to learn from some amazing guys. I was able to participate in the contracted guys, their practices and their training sessions that were run by guys like Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn and Kevin Kelly, and I was able to benefit from all of those things. But I also didn't have to play by the same rules that those guys did because I was not contracted by them. I could do, if I chose to change my look a little bit, I didn't have to run that up the flagpole. If I wanted to change my music, I didn't have to ask. I could just do what I wanted. So that was good, and that's also, part of what led me into buying HWA in 2003. I had seen the way the WWE product was. I had seen how dispensable so many guys were. It didn't really matter who you were or what what kind of credit you had to your name. If they didn't have something for you, then they terminated you and they pushed you out the door. And I saw lots of good contracted guys get terminated. Some of them deserved it, and some of them didn't. And there were plenty of good guys that should have been on the main roster, should have been on TV every week, and they weren't. So I don't know. I didn't really like that, so to speak. It kind of left a foul taste in my mouth. And when they left, when they pulled the contract in 2002, I sort of made a conscious thought in my brain at that time that WWE wasn't really what I wanted to do anymore. It wasn't where I wanted to go. I was having so much fun running HWA that I would rather take that company and see what I could do with it and how well we could do as a little company. I never thought that we were going to be big time like WWE or WCW or anything like that. But I thought on a regional level, here in the Ohio, the tri-state, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky area, I thought we could do very well for ourselves, and we did. And we ended up being on the America One Network, which was a television station, and our product was seen in 140 plus cities, coast to coast, and we were doing well, and we were making good money.
All right.
And we're being joined by Coleco Yachts now.
Oh man, that Scooter, that Bama gang. He already knows, but
You have a question?
Of course. Actually, I wanted to dig into that trainer mentality because the one thing that I noticed about yourself is that I equate people who are trainers and me as a veteran, I always compare it to drill instructors because you guys are pushing those people to be ready for the real world perspective of the industry of professional wrestling. And the one thing that I noticed over the last, I want to say 10 to 20 years, indie is starting to become the mainstream norm. It's starting to be a blurred line, if you will. As a trainer, and you're seeing how, could you talk about the change in the attitude of people who want to come into wrestling, especially from 10, 20 years ago when really it was kind of like the WWE or bust mentality for some, vice now where you don't necessarily have to make it there and you could actually succeed on your own. And
Yeah.
when did you think that light switch flipped?
I think that light switch flip was a real slow burn over the last 20 years. When I first took over HWA, all the guys that were there and the students that were coming in, these guys and girls all wanted to go to WWE. That was everybody's goal, and we all worked together. Everybody had the same goal, and I was pushing guys and girls to do that. Versus now, I'd say 99% of the students that I get now and the people that come into the business now don't really care about going to WWE. Most of the guys and girls that are coming in now are quite happy just wrestling on an independent level, and more so, a lot of them are quite content just working for their one local home company and not really interested in traveling and doing all the things that the wrestlers preceding them did. I was back around 2002, 2003. I mean, I was working myself. I was working 250 shows a year and hustling. And I have a whole crew of people now that work for me, and we run a weekly show on Friday nights, and that's 52 shows a year, and they're quite content with just that. But you've also got all these other independent companies that have come along that have money behind them and have gotten a bigger following, a bigger name, your MLWs and companies like that. So there is other options besides WWE. So if WWE isn't your cup of tea and it isn't what you want to do, but you want to be seen on a larger stage, there are those independent companies out there that are on TV that are drawing thousands of people when they run their shows. And and they're not as big as WWE, but they're still just as viable as WWE. If you can secure a job with like an MLW or a company of that stature, then you can make plenty of money, and you can travel the world, and you can do all the things that you want to do, and still wrestle on the independents with anybody that wants to book you. If you get signed by WWE, your independent bookings are done. You're not going to work anywhere except for them. And if you're one of the unlucky ones that gets buried down at the Performance Center or NXT, and you're there for a couple of years and they don't use you, then to me it's just sort of wasting talent. I push all my guys and girls to be the best that they can be, even though most of them don't really aspire to go anywhere else. But if you are gonna be in the business, my kind of my motto there with my school is be the best version of you that you can be, even if you don't want to go to the top. Why not be as good as you can possibly be?
I think that's a very astute point on that. And I just wanted to follow up real quick, because the one thing that I do notice now, and I would like to get your opinion on that, is the fact that now that we have the social media aspect, where 20 years ago, MySpace, it was there, but it wasn't as prevalent or as important as it is like a Twitter or even a TikTok or anything, to where a wrestler can build their brand while they're in training, which to me, I think is a very, very huge advantage versus 20 years ago. And I wanted to gauge your opinion on that part. Do you think that's a hell and a harm?
That's a double-edged sword there, man. The social media, it's definitely a platform to expand your footprint, get your name out there, hustle bookings, grow your brand. But it's also, it has also kind of hurt the business too, in the aspect of, nothing is hidden. If you wrestle, I wrestled last night a couple hours north of where my promotion is, and I dislocated my shoulder. It didn't take long for that to hit social media and get out that I was hurt. I woke up this morning to a bazillion messages on Facebook and Instagram, people asking me how I was doing. And while that's great and all, back in the day, I could have hidden that injury, and I could have came back to Cincinnati, and I could have played it off and worked around it. Now I can't necessarily work around it. So it's the social media, it's good for people, but it's also bad for the business in a certain aspect. It's good for the business in a certain aspect. We advertise all of our shows on social media. We advertise, we push our little YouTube show hard on social media, and that we get a lot of the people that follow our stuff come from social media, as opposed to 20 years ago when it was word of mouth and hanging up posters and flyers around town. And if you were lucky enough to get on a local television station or something of that nature. So definitely helps, but it also kind of hinders a bit too, in my opinion.
Now you came from the more Wild West days of pro wrestling, a very different time. So how did you adjust how to train people in 2021 from how you was trained in 1996?
Well, it's been an ever-changing progression. When I was actually training, Les, his training regimen was very hard, very abusive to the body. Thousands of bumps and drills, and while all that stuff was great, I'm realizing now, some 25 years later, how much damage my body took from those sort of things. And I've got students that and I have people that work with me that trained with me back in the early 2000s. They trained under me back then, and they still work for me now, all the way up to people that train with me now. And in each class or group of people, they tell the new people coming in, they go, man, Cody takes it so easy on you guys. He killed us, and then the class before them tells them, Cody took it easy on you guys. He killed us worse. And it's just been a slow progression. My training is, it's ever evolving. Not everybody is meant to do the same things, and so everybody shouldn't be taught the same things. We should all be taught the basic fundamentals of the business, and we should all be taught how the business works, psychology, getting heat, why we're doing what we're doing. But not everybody needs to know. Not everybody's going to climb to the top rope and jump off. Not everybody's going to do a dive. Not everybody's going to, do, a Canadian destroyer. These are just, the things that, I may have taught years ago, but I don't teach now because it's just not practical. I try to keep all my guys healthy and strong and, and don't get me wrong, I'm not soft on anybody. We still take lots of bumps. You got to get that muscle memory right so that when you're knocked silly, your body still does what it's supposed to do. But it's not quite the same. It's evolved and it will keep evolving. As long as I keep training, it's going to keep evolving.
That's great how, coming from that era and having that thought process of continuously evolving how you train your students. And do you think that was maybe one of the major factors of you getting the coach award, the trainer award from Cauliflower Alley Club?
The third ever.
Yeah, I was so grateful to get that award. I was totally shocked and surprised when they reached out to me to ask me if I, was interested in that. I got lucky. I'm not going to take all the credit for things. I can't. I got lucky with that crew back in 2003 to 2007. The guys and girls that were coming through my class back then, they were an extremely talented group of people. Your Jon Moxleys, your LA Knights, your Sammy Callahans, like these guys, they got the business, they understood it, and whether they trained with me or they trained with somebody else, they were probably going to be big stars. I got lucky that they passed through my training camp. I got, each one of those, those three guys in particular, I directly, did a lot of stuff with them because I had seen the process. I had been part of the developmental system. I had seen what it took. John, we'll take him just for instance. He moved into my house because he didn't have a steady ride to training. So he moved in with me so that I could take him to training every day. I would get up every morning and he would be sitting on the couch eating breakfast, watching wrestling. And I would ask him if he called the office yet, meaning the WWE talent office. Have you called the office yet? He would say, yeah, I didn't get an answer. I'd say, well, call him again. And he would call again. And then, he wouldn't get an answer. And 20 minutes later, I'd say, call him again. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually, somebody answered and he got a shot. Sammy was, didn't always look like the Sammy Callahan that you see today. Sammy was at one point a 350-pound kid. And he wasn't, he wasn't the death machine, so to speak, that he is today. And I gave him a diet and I pushed him in the gym and made him, work out and be better. So, I think that, by doing that, those guys making it to that upper level, and then those guys having the decency to put over the fact that I was the trainer, I was part of the reason that they got where they were, and that allowed me to gain notoriety and success as a trainer. And ultimately, getting that trainer's award and doing some training at the Performance Center down in Florida. So yeah, I think training those guys and they helped me just as much as I helped them.
Well, Mark said in his in his induction speech for you that he still owes you $2,700. But having said that speech for you, that made you even. Agree or disagree?
Well, John's my buddy, and I'm not going to go hassling him for $2,700. I mean, what kind of a guy would I be if I did that?
Great. Scooter, you have a question.
Just one quick one on that. Was there ever a time you thought about cutting off Mox's ponytail while he slept?
No. No, because I thought John, when he was 18, 19, 20 years old and he had that long hair, it was fitting for him at that point in time, and I thought it looked good on him at that point in time, And as he's grown older and grown into becoming a man and being an adult, unfortunately time catches up with all of us men, and we start to lose our hair, and so he is where he is now. But no, I never thought about cutting off his ponytail.
It's a choice.
I really should be one to talk. My entire on-air gimmick is the fact that I call myself the Holy Grail ponytail. But you brought up Les Thatcher's training methods, and it took me back to the PSD I had training under Pat Buck and Mikey Whipwreck in the NYWC, and how when guys like Alex Reynolds and John Silver went down, at request of Norman Smiley, and they brought back NXT drills and everything. The one thing they said I couldn't do well is back bump for some reason, and I don't know why they saw it was wrong, but they made me do 1,000 back bumps on a gym mat outside the ring, and I believe to that day that's still the real reason why my spine is messed up. But it's that relaxed method of a training that you don't need to be a dictator. Essentially, you just have to work. It's almost like it's almost like a 50-50 symbiotic relationship, where if you put in the work and you properly motivate, as opposed to just screaming at someone, you will get more out of them, and it'll be so much better. But I'm on a little bit of a tangent here, but I want to talk about a specific match. September 5th, 2015. You and Cody Hawk against Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler.
You're thinking of a different Cody Hawk.
Oh God, this is listed under your cage match. Oh God, we gotta fire them.
Yeah, so there is another Cody Hawk. I don't know when exactly he started wrestling. He's I think down in the Tennessee, maybe Alabama area. Cody and Brody Hawk. Not quite the same guy.
We had this conversation earlier. I told you there was two Cody Hawks.
Yes, but under Cody, unfortunately, under your match listing under cage match, it's got a lot of the other Cody's matches listed. So I apologize for that.
No worries. Can't believe everything you read on the internet.
Very true. Now, I hope I'm right to say you do run the all ages fantasy camp, right?
I do.
Please tell us about that, and have you noticed any particular diamonds in the rough from this yet?
Well, honestly, the fantasy camp came about in 2003 when myself and my business partners bought HWA from Les. When we were in the process of buying the company, there was a bank account that had a considerable amount of money in it. We were given a stack of bills when we purchased the company. We were given a stack of bills that were all pretty much coming due, and access to the bank account, which now had a balance of zero. So we had no money, and we were starting this company, and we had spent Our initial down payment to Les was $10,000. And so we had spent all of our money right then and there. And we had all these bills coming due. We had a building that cost $2,500 a month. We had insurance. We had all these different bills. So I said, let's run a fantasy camp. So we ran the first HWA fantasy camp back in 2003. In that fantasy camp, there was a kid named Jon Moxley, or Jonathan Good, who did that fantasy camp with us. He came out of that camp. So you talk about your diamonds in the rough there or whatever. I try to do 2 a year, and ever since I've been training or had a permanent building or a place to do stuff out of, I do one in the spring and one in the fall, and mostly they're the people that come to them. There's nobody there that's looking to actually go any farther in the business, but they do have, that desire to see what it's like to be in a wrestling ring, to feel what it's like to fall or to get chopped, or even to just stand on the top rope and do their best Macho Man impersonation. These are things, unless you own a wrestling ring, you can't do. So I can run a fantasy camp on a Saturday afternoon, and I can get 20 or 25 people in there, and I push them, and I run them hard. I go. I want them to know what we go through, and what we go through isn't easy. It's not easy on our bodies. It isn't easy on our lungs, and it isn't easy on our brains. So I push them and I tax them as much as I possibly can, without breaking them, because at the end of the day, I know that they're not going to be in the business. So I don't want to sour their experience, but I definitely want them to go home going, wow, these guys and girls that are wrestlers, and they're tough, because they get their asses kicked on a daily basis, and I want them to know that the bumps and the bruises that we take, they're real, and so we hopefully every time I run one, hopefully there's going to be one of those guys or girls in there that's the next big thing, but you just never know.
I mean, you said, hold on, you said Jon Moxley came out of it, but he didn't pay you.
Well, the fantasy camp was only $50, so.
Oh, okay. He paid his $50.
He paid for that, but Jon was one of those kids. Like I said, from the moment I met him at 16 or 17 years old, I don't know, his brain just worked so much differently than everybody else's, and when he actually did start training, I just knew, like, and that was part of the reason that I asked him if he wanted to move into my house so that he could continue his training. Sure, I want to make the money, and I want people to pay me what they are supposed to pay me while they're training, but there always is that exception to the rule, and I'm glad I made that exception with Jon, and I let him continue to train even though he ran out of money. He didn't have a job at that point in time, or if he did, it wasn't a good job, making $6 or $7 an hour. I think he worked at Elder Beerman's in the mall and was folding T-shirts or sweaters or something, and he didn't make much money, but he helped me around the house, and he helped keep the HWA gym clean, and he took care of things around there. So it all balanced out in the end.
Yeah, it was a joke.
If you could, let's go back to my screw up a little bit, and there's a reason for this, because I have a specific question specifically related to nomenclature here. There is another, I guess you'd call him somewhat well-known person named Cody Hawk on YouTube. He's an IT expert and deals in cybersecurity. Has there ever been any cases where you've been mistaken for him, or you've gotten a strange email asking you about cybersecurity or anything of that sort?
Well, I don't know that guy personally, but I definitely know who you're talking about. And I have gotten some strange emails and some strange messages on social media. And I don't know if that guy is a crook or what, but a lot of the messages that I get are, "Hey, Cody, I paid you for your book and I haven't received it yet."
Oh,
And then I just have to tell him, I think you have the wrong guy.
Oh,
You
God.
want the one from Memphis.
Yeah.
Kaliko, you have a question.
Yes, I do. I want to go back into that trainer's mentality. Um, the one thing that I noticed that you said was that when you see it in them and you pull it out them, whether it's self determination, uh, I want to know, and you don't have to name names, or anyone where you saw the potential in them that they didn't see themselves, and you just had to dig deep to pull it out of them due to like confidence or a mental issue that they had to get over, or in the vice versa, where someone who you thought was going to do it, but for some odd reason they didn't take it seriously as you thought they should.
Yeah, there's definitely been those people, and I'm sure you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys did one of these interviews with my other half, Shawna Reed.
We have.
When she first came to me to train, she had the dream and the desire, but had very little self confidence. Um, but she had this determination that reminded me a lot of myself. When I watched her battle through injuries, I watched her being the only girl in a class full of guys, and watched her go through all the same drills and be the best one at the things that she was doing. And I would have to tell her like, hey, like you're really good, man. Like, stop putting yourself down. Stop thinking the worst. And the first time she got to go and do something at WWE. She didn't want to go. She wanted to back out because she was scared. I'm like, man, they wouldn't have booked you if they didn't want you to be there. So there's been plenty of times with her that I've had to continually push her and get her out of her head because she just for whatever reason doesn't believe that she's there. And in my opinion, she is there, and she needs to keep pushing because she's literally at the doorstep. It's just a matter of kicking that door open. And then there have definitely been other people that have come through. I had a guy that was 6'5". He was 330 pounds. He had the same kind of body that Hulk Hogan had back in the day,
Wow.
just a massive, jacked up guy. But he wasn't. He just didn't get wrestling. He didn't understand the business. When you're that big, you don't need to be jumping off the top rope. You don't need to be flying around the ring. You're a giant. You don't need to do that stuff. And he could just never get that. And he ended up hurting himself over and over and over and over again to the point where he could no longer be in the wrestling business because he kept trying to do things that he shouldn't be doing. Some people get psychology and they just understand it, and some people, I try and try and try to explain it to them and help them with it, and they're just never going to get it. And it's sad because maybe they have all the tools and they have the look, but they just don't understand wrestling. And then, like I said, there's other people who get it and they understand wrestling, but they don't believe in themselves. And so yeah, that's happened both ways.
Man, talk about that hurdle, because especially on the side of believing in somebody, right? Because to me, that seems like a bigger hurdle than trying to convince somebody not to do something, because our brains naturally, especially as humans, we always tend to think the worst, and we always have that, that fear mentality in our brain. And just elaborate like how hard that is, especially when it's something where you can't control it, and you're like, just let yourself go, and the rewarding factor when it finally happens.
Yeah, like I've kind of taken on this stance here in my company. I mean, I'm in my 25th year. I'm about to be in my 26th year. I'm 48 years old. my better days are behind me. So I keep saying this one line in my promos and all my advertisements and stuff is that we're all running out of time. And you keep putting stuff off, and eventually you are going to run out of time. If you don't believe in yourself, then trust me, because if I believe in you and I think you can do it, then trust me. You've paid me money as your trainer. You've trusted me with your life. Well, trust me when I tell you that you're good and that you deserve to be somewhere, or trust me when I tell you maybe you should go back to the drawing board and you should try something different. Shawna, like I'll continue to use her as an example. She's my wife now, and so
Congratulations.
she's my thank you. She is my closest person in the wrestling business. Her first trip to AEW, she had to wrestle with Britt Baker, and it didn't go as planned, and it wasn't very good. And she called me in tears after it was over, and she said, "I'm tempted to leave right now and just get on a plane and come home." And I said, "You will do no such thing. You will pull yourself together. You will dry your tears. You will fix your makeup. You will put on a new set of gear." And because she was going to be wrestling Thunder Rosa later in the day, I said, "And you will go out there and you will show them exactly why you deserve to be there." And then she went out and she wrestled Rosa and she killed it. And and then I called and talked to her later in the day, and I said, "And that's why you didn't get on that plane and come home, because you deserve to be there. Trust me. Trust in the process. We're all running out of time. Don't give up on yourself today, because tomorrow isn't promised."
I believe she actually got some dates with Miss and Pro because of that match with Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, she did. Rosa really liked her a lot after the match, and hooked her up with some Mission Pro stuff, and hopefully she'll be going back and doing some more stuff with her soon. She actually just got back from she did AEW over the weekend, this past weekend.
Yeah.
So and she had a really great match on Friday there. With Diamante, which will be on one of their dark episodes coming out here in the next couple weeks. So, yep.
Yeah. Now, one of the constants in all our interviews is Eddie Guerrero. He always gets brought up as people's favorite wrestlers, heavily influenced them, etc., etc. You actually tag teamed with Eddie Guerrero one time. Can you kind of
Uh-huh.
tell us about that experience?
Well, it's been a long time ago. I mean, nearly 20 years ago. And at that time, I don't think I realized at that time what Eddie was to the business. It was a little bit before he passed. It was a little bit before he really blew up and became a huge star. And from what I remember of it, he was a very generous guy. He didn't want to be the star of the match. He wanted us to be the stars of the match. It was a six-man tag, and and he put the focus on the other guys in the match. He did his thing and he got his stuff in, and he was Eddie Guerrero, but like I said, he put the focus on us, and that was really cool of him, because he didn't have to do that. It was very fortunate during that little stretch there, during the contract years. WWE sent us all these guys that were, like I said, either rehabbing injuries or weren't necessarily being used on TV at the time. So I got to wrestle Eddie Guerrero. I got to wrestle Chris Benoit. I got to wrestle with Val Venus and D'Lo Brown, and just a lot of really good talent. So forever grateful to those guys that weren't selfish and already had a job and understood that they could help us, in our process, instead of just taking it all for themselves. And there was the other side of that coin too. There were some guys there that didn't want to help us, because they looked at it as if this guy gets a job, maybe my job might be in danger. So,
Right.
two-way street.
That's incredible. I don't think we we've ever talked to anybody that has ever even met those people. So, and I mean, just you brought up Chris Benoit. Growing up, he was one of my favorite wrestlers until like, and I know that's taboo to say, but you know,
It's very taboo to say, and he was one of my favorite wrestlers. And when I very first started training, he was one of my major influences as to like character wise, as who I wanted to pattern my wrestling style after. I wanted to be aggressive, and I wanted to be hard hitting, and I wanted to have that reputation about me, without hurting people, without killing people. I can remember I had been in the business maybe 3 or 4 months, and I was at the HWA training facility. I was in the ring running. I wasn't training anyone yet. I was just a trainee learning myself. And I can remember, I don't know if I think it was Raw, maybe was in town, and I looked in the back of the training room there by Les's office, and Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit were standing there with Les watching training. And I thought, oh my God, this is one of my heroes. Like, this is one of the guys that I want to pattern myself after. And then a couple years later, he ended up being there during the contract days. He helped us put together a couple of finishes to some matches. I can remember one time I was in a match with the Island Boys, who went on to be Rosie and Umaga. I can remember like we did a lumberjack strap match with those guys, and when we were coming back from the ring, I was the last guy through the curtain, and Benoit was on the other side of the curtain, and he scooped me up in a hug, literally lifted me off the ground, squeezed me, and said, "Fuck yeah, that's how a finish is supposed to come off." And to have one of your idols or one of your heroes tell you that, that was a pretty awesome experience. It was. And then when everything went down with him, yes,
right.
it's more or less taboo to even say his name nowadays, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he was an amazing talent in the ring.
And
I think,
thank you
yeah.
so much for just telling us that story. That's wow, that's incredible. That really
Yeah, I
blew me.
bet you
That
that
really blew me
was
away.
that was dope. Because it's funny when he says that. Because a couple months ago, I went to the LA. LAX had a fan fest, and there was a couple of wrestlers there. But the two wrestlers that I focused on more so than anybody was the Godfather and D'Lo Brown. And people were like, "Why?" Because the Godfather, I knew him from. I grew up in the South, so I was with the USWA days. So that's all I would talk to him about, and he would just and when he was like, "Oh my God," the only time when I talk about wrestling is when I talk about the USWA days with him and Taker, because they used to run that circuit, the Memphis circuit, Memphis, Texas circuit, then the Nashville, Arkansas, circuit. And D'Lo Brown, because to me, I felt like he was so underrated, and he just never got his flowers. And it's refreshing to hear that, because I think, like you were saying, you only got so much time, and it's best to make use of it now and give these people their dues, man, and pay the utmost respects to them. And with Benoit, I always look at it like, yeah, he fucked up. It's a bad thing. Uh, and I try to separate the character from the man. And you can love the character but hate the man. And that's what's but that's a whole nother topic. Another
Yeah.
day. Whole other topic.
I think the
But
only
that,
person you've interviewed that has ever come close is somebody you know quite well, Bob Evans.
Oh yeah, I love me some Brutal Bob.
Yeah, we
oh
love
yeah,
Brutal
we
Bob
love
as
Bob.
well.
We love Brutal Bob.
Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now you mentioned you're coming up on your 26th year. You've put your body through hell and back. You've seen others put their bodies through hell and back. So my question is, where do you stand on the possible and what may seem like the eventual form of a organized union of independent talent and professional talent?
Well, I mean, I don't really know. I know for literally my entire existence in the business, people have been talking about some sort of union of talent, and it just it's never come to pass, and I don't know if it will ever come to pass, or if it'll, it may be sometime after I'm long gone. Who knows? I mean, I wish there was, something like that to take care of all of us a little better. But I'm just a drop in the sea.
All right. Kaliko, you have a question.
Yes, going back to that, the time is ticking, and it's the one thing when you leave the industry, what do you want your mark to be? Because I feel like you have so many, and some people are just going to gravitate to the Moxleys and the Andersons, but the one thing that defines, or not even defines you, that got your fire going for 26 years, what do you think that is, and that mark you're going to leave when you leave the industry?
Well, my one goal, my thing that I live for now is to help other people realize their dreams, no matter how big or small. Maybe you just want to be a pro wrestler and you want to work a small independent show, a couple times a month, or maybe you want to go all the way to WWE or AEW and you want to be a big star. That's what I want my legacy to be, is that this guy was never about the money. I'm not about the money. If I was, John would pay me that $2,700 that he owes me. But it's not about for me. I'm not a rich guy. I've never been a rich guy. I've made some money from wrestling, but I never made good, solid money from wrestling. So it was never about the money. It was always about my love and passion for the business. And so that's what I want my legacy to be, is that people look back and I go, that guy cared about everybody else, and he wanted everybody else to, he lived his dream, and he wanted everybody else that was attached to him to live their dream.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Now, you've done a lot of backstage. I don't want to say backstage. Extra work for WWE.
Yep.
Can you tell us your initial reaction to being pitched, peeing at the urinal while the girls rolled into the bathroom?
Yeah, that was easily the silliest thing that I've ever done in pro wrestling. I got paid $500 to take a pee on national TV.
Oh God!
It was me and a guy named Matt Striker, not WWE's Matt Striker, but HWA's Matt Striker,
What a why?
who in my opinion was a way better worker. But they told us the spot, what we were going to do, and me and Stryker, we looked at each other and we said, well, we're going to make this the best pee ever. We drank coffee all day long, and when it was time for our spot, we both had to go. And they took us to they hustled us up to a public bathroom that they had cleared out. And it was gross, man. I don't know if they hosed the floor down with water just so it would be wet, or if that floor was actually just covered with piss. But we were standing there at the urinal, and it was Jacqueline and Ivory and Luna, and they come fighting into the bathroom, and Ivory took a belly bump and literally slid all the way over and slid right up between us, between the two urinals. And she had told us earlier in the day, she had said, you guys, I'm gonna put you guys over. And she did. She slid right up between us, and she looked at both of us, and and her eyes bugged out of her head, and then they continued on the fight. And and then once the cameras were gone, me and Stryker high-fived each other. We were like, we can't believe that just happened, man. Like, holy cow. And for me, Ivory was one of those people that when I was first getting into the business, I was really crushing on. I thought Ivory was just awesome. Like, I thought she was beautiful. And so just to be able to do a cool spot with her like that, I don't know, really cool.
First and foremost, so that was suit pee, not walking pee, is what you're saying.
I hope it was work P, but you know, we don't know.
I mean, gimmick to P.
And just Ivory, one of the unsung heroes that doesn't necessarily get her flowers nowadays.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Ivory was I don't know, like to me, she was one of those pioneers of the women's revolution. You know, like it took a long time for it to really get hold, but you know, I mean, what a journey she had, being one of the Glow Girls all the way up to a WWE superstar.
Oh, absolutely.
Also very pretty. She does not get like the prop. They don't give her as much props as she should in the looks department. I agree.
Yep.
Scooter, you have a question.
Let's see.
Don't forget the Burger King question.
I will. Okay. When you first started competing, because you've competed with a few names, you know, that anybody would be lucky to either team with or face. When you first started training, who was someone that you wanted to get in the ring with and eventually got to, and who is someone now that you wish you had the chance to
You know,
work with?
I'm probably going to be fairly generic on this when I say it. You know, when I first started in the business, I wanted, you know, Chris Benoit was what I liked about wrestling. Hulk Hogan had always been my childhood idol. Once I got in the business and I started understanding how it worked, and I realized the major differences between those guys. You know, like when I first started out, you know, Hulk Hogan would have been the guy that I would have wanted to have gotten in the ring with, but never got the chance to. You know, and Chris Benoit, he was one of those guys that I wanted to get in the ring with, and I did actually get the opportunity to get in the ring with. If I were to bring that up to today's standard, you know, I'd really like to have one more match with Mox.
Oh,
Interesting. Any
His style and
specific
my style are very
stipulation?
similar. And what's that?
Any type of stipulation or just one-on-one?
No, it doesn't have to be a stipulation or anything like that, but his style and my style are very, very similar. You know, when I do get to see him on TV and stuff, I see him do things that I still do. And you know, and sometimes I go, "Oh, you little shithead, you stole that from me." Uh, you know, but you know, he forged his own path and he did his own thing, and I would love to compete with him again. Just one time, you know, I would love to do some sort of storyline or angle at AEW, a trainer versus student type thing, and just get brought in and used a little bit, you know, as a little build up, and then have one match with him, and you know, and then put him over, you know, somewhere, you know, in front of a you know, a packed house. I would love to do that. So yeah, that's probably the one that I hope happens, but you know, I'm not going to hold my breath for.
That would actually be really cool. I would really like to see that as
yeah.
well. Now, I have a question, and this might go into a segue into Kaliko's question as well. You have a T-shirt on your pro wrestling tees that is NWA inspired, not the wrestling company, the the rap group.
Uh-huh.
Are you a fan of NWA?
I am a huge fan. I'm a music nut in general. Like if you look at those pro wrestling tees, I have a Van Halen inspired T-shirt. I have a
Kiss.
Danzig inspired T-shirt. I have an NWA inspired T-shirt. You know, I'm a big music person. I like most genres of music. So yeah, definitely inspired by them.
So straight out of Hamilton.
And I think that will lead us into Kaliko's colossal question.
Ooh, man, that's The NWA, I did not see that coming. I mean, you know what? You know what's crazy? It just tells me hip hop is a lot more in depth than most people think. Because when people think of hip hop, they think it's all poppy and stuff. But when they bring up like these 80s and 90s, I'm like, bro, I wasn't the only one there.
Yeah, I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. I was born in the 70s. I didn't really understand music till the 80s and 90s, and that's what I grew up on, and that's the kind of music that I like. I like that old school rap music. I like old school rock and roll music. Like, I don't. There's today's music. There's not much out there today that really piques my interest. I'd rather listen to an 80s 90s playlist than a 2020 playlist any day of the week.
So that means you're excited about the G-Funk Super Bowl that's going to happen next year.
I'm unaware of what this is.
Oh, so the Super Bowl halftime show is Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige. They went all 90s R&B and hip hop.
I think it'll be awesome, but I think it won't be as awesome as I'd like it to be because it will be on network television.
Yeah.
And,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Ain't no fun getting played.
Yeah, it's very corporate now, and those talents can't be what brought them to the dance.
That is true, but I think it's going to bring a lot more people together than most folks think.
I hope
now,
so.
Getting to my question. See, I love this. So, I mean, you've done it all. I mean, you might as well have a movie made for you, man. And every movie has a soundtrack. So let's say you have a movie about you, Matt Damon starring, some good hunk says, I want to play you. But every movie has a soundtrack. So what 5 songs that you would pick that would best sum up your wrestling career?
Man, that's a tough one there. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. I definitely "Dreams" by Van Halen.
Good one.
Okay.
That'd be one. Man, I wish I'd have had some time to prepare for that question. Well, we could sit here for hours, me trying to think of songs.
Oh, I got all day.
We've had 3-hour interviews before.
We even had people change their minds on the song. So
yes,
they're not locked in.
Oh well, let me see. I'll keep thinking, and I'll see what else I come up here with. Now you're making me have to want to go get my computer and open up my playlist and see what I've got in there.
See, this is that type of question where you're gonna be sleeping and then you're gonna wake up and be like, "That's the song I was looking for."
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I like Lil Wayne's "Right Above It."
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
that's 2.
That's 2.
Let's see what else. Might have to use my original entrance music, which was Smash Mouth "Walking on the Sun."
All right.
Okay.
People are like, "What the hell?"
Oh, I know that. Oh my God, I played that.
We may need 16 years to arrive for the next song. No,
it's like Napster days, but it.
Everybody just goes to All Star with Smash Mouth, I feel.
Yeah, 311 Come Original.
Oh man, 311. Oh, that's the one.
Come Original. Got to come on. Oh God.
311. I love 311. Underrated.
Yeah. And let's see.
You need one more.
Oh, I need one more, huh?
One more.
Man. Maybe Pet Shop Boys opportunities.
Alright.
Ooh, okay.
Now you have your 5 songs. Do you lock it in?
I'll lock it in.
Alright, we'll lock that.
He's got to lock in 311. I feel like that's it.
Now, Scooter, you have any last questions?
Okay. I'm trying to think.
Don't forget the Burger King first.
Okay. Being an Ohio native, which sport has the superior team from Ohio?
Well, number one, I'm not a fan of the Bengals. I'm not a fan of the Browns either, so I'm out there for football. I do follow the Reds a little bit, but not too much. Our hockey teams are here. They're not so good. The Blue Jackets, and we don't have well, I guess we do have the Cavs. So I don't know, man. I don't follow too many of those predetermined sports. I like the real ones.
The best answer ever. Ever.
Alright. Now, I've been looking forward to asking you this question. I've asked this to many a female talent, and you will be the first male talent to answer it.
Oh.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of wrestling your significant other?
Well, I mean, Shawna and I have pretty damn good ring chemistry together, and I'll go and say 90% of the things that she knows, I've taught her. So I don't really have to even communicate with her too much when we wrestle. It's just kind of an I can feel where she's going. She can feel where I'm going. We've done it and we've trained. And so, as far as advantages, we're peanut butter and jelly in the ring together. As far as disadvantages goes, I'm the 25-year veteran, and she is the 6-year person, and sometimes she doesn't necessarily like it when I take the lead because she wants to lead, and I'm like, hell no, you're not leading, I'm leading. And so we do kind of butt heads on who leads and who's running the match sometimes when we do wrestle each other. But at the end of the day, we both know the end outcome, and our matches are really good together.
You told us when you win the match, you sleep on the couch. Can you confirm or deny that?
Well, I'm gonna have to deny that. Our couch is uncomfortable, and I've never slept on it. So, but that is how I asked her to marry me. She was kicking the crap out of me in the ring, and I was on my hands and knees, and I pulled a ring. I had a referee slip a ring into my hand behind my back, and asked her to marry me in the ring, and then she hugged me and cried and said yes, and then I dipped behind her and rolled her up and pinned her for the 1, 2, 3.
You did share with us that story.
Yes, she did. How did that come about? Proposing to her inside the ring.
Well, I mean, she's a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. It just seemed like the right thing to do to me. Her family was in the audience. Most of our friends are in the pro wrestling industry, and because we have our little home promotion that we both train out of and that we wrestle at every week, the bulk of our friends are there. And for me, it was just like, I want to do this in front of our friends and our family. And, both of us have the same kind of passion and love for pro wrestling. So why not do it in a ring?
All right.
I agree, especially as a person who actually proposed in a ring.
Yeah. Yeah. When we got married, we had over 100 wrestlers at our wedding, and during one of the song breaks, I had all the wrestlers on the dance floor, and we did a giant lockup. Had 50 or so pairs of people all locked up that we've got some really awesome photos of.
I have always said that if I ever get married again, I want my wedding party to make their entrance to theme music, not drugs.
Yeah. We like I said, our wedding was we had about 200 people at our wedding, and well over 100 of them were wrestlers. So it was a very much a wrestler wedding. We had giants, we had midgets, we had strippers, we had it all, and it was a wonderful thing.
Were there any giant midget strippers?
I know.
Only
I'm
two.
Should have went for the record. Biggest collar tie-up at a wedding. Guinness Book of World Records.
I think they did.
Well, I do have pictures, so I don't know. Maybe I'll look into
proof.
it.
All right.
Yep.
On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Pineapple on pizza? It doesn't matter to me either way. I love pizza, but I really try to watch what I eat so much and try to keep my body looking not like a 48-year-old man. So I don't really eat too much pizza, but if there's pineapple on it, I don't care. I'll eat it either way.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
I'm a little old for Pokemon.
I can't believe I asked you anyway. Oh yeah, I have Cody Hawk here. I'm asking him what his spirit Pokemon is.
That's like he's more the Thundercats
what a Pokemon is. Yeah. You asked me what a Transformer spirit is, then I got you. But
there you go, your spirit Transformer. There we go. See, James. 80s cartoons is way better than.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm covered in Transformer tattoos, so.
Interesting. Ooh. So, who is your spirit Transformer?
Oh, Megatron.
Yeah. I mean,
it had to be Megatron. Yeah. It just has to be Megatron. No one was going to yell out Starscream.
Yeah. Nope. It's got to be Megatron.
Now, the weirdest thing you ever be asked on a pro wrestling podcast: would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, Scooter.
Not the country.
An actual Rock.
I mean, if the money was right, I'd put the Rock over.
Well, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes in what was called a Tungsten Man match, an Arm Man match that lasted for 2 weeks.
And,
Jesus.
And he's actually based out of Hamilton, Ontario.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really try to keep realism as best as possible in wrestling. But at the end of the day, money talks.
I mean, for context, this did come out of the pandemic and the need for wrestlers to still want to entertain their fans. So,
and I'm pretty sure he did it for free.
During the pandemic, Shawna and I had a 15-minute match in our house where I ended up taking a backdrop onto our couch. I ended up
this is a family show here.
Yeah, ended up taking a frying pan to the head, and got a swirly in our toilet.
That sounds more interesting than wrestling the Rock. Now I'm intrigued.
And I want to know what this footage is.
No, it's behind a paywall, James. No.
Now, on the show, we love Tracy Smothers. In honor of Tracy, do you know the acronym for Doug?
Oh, it's going to take me a minute because I actually used to have that T-shirt. Let me see. I know it ends with a thug can't spell.
Yes.
Do
you need a little bit of help?
Yeah, sure.
T is for terrible.
Terrible.
T is for terrible. H is for I don't remember. U is for ugly.
Yes.
G is for I don't remember.
G is for jail.
Jail. Because a thug can't spell.
Yes. It's T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
Yep. I used to do a lot of work with Tracy, and I was sad that he is no longer with us.
It really is. We're trying to give him his flowers on this podcast and, keep the memory alive.
When I used to run HWA, our shows were on Tuesday, and Tracy would always work up in Cleveland on Sunday, and he'd be passing back through Cincinnati on Tuesdays, and he would always call me on his way through and ask if I had any room for him and whoever he had in his car. And I'd always tell him, Tracy, I can't afford you. And he'd say, it's all right. Just, put my kids on the show that are with me and give me a place to sell my merch and pay me whatever you can pay me. And he would always come through and do just wonderful things for us.
Did he ever have the bear in the car?
He never had the bear. He always had a different person with him or a different couple of people, and they were always somehow something first name Smothers.
Like Jesse Bell, Smothers, and
well, this was even before Jesse Bell was in the business.
Now, it is once again time for that segment. Cody Hawk's Bizarre Adventure. You're a wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a story that fits that description?
Weird things on the road. One time was wrestling in McMinnville, Tennessee, and it was a dry county, and we were in town a day early, and we were all looking for to buy some beer and hang out at the hotel and drink. And it was like I said, a dry county, and we were coming around a mountain, and there was a house on the side, kind of off the side of the road, with a big sign in their front yard that says, "We have beer." So we pulled in their driveway, and we pulled all the way up to their house, and a guy came out, and he opened his garage door, and he had 7 or 8 giant stand-up coolers like you would see in a gas station filled with beer. And we bought 6 packs of beer out of his garage. A little strange.
I mean, was it good beer?
I mean, it was cold beer. I don't really know that any beer is good beer.
I mean, it wasn't Natty Ice, was it?
No, I think I bought a 6-pack of St. Pauli Girl.
Ah, yes.
It was terrible.
Exactly.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, hopefully sitting on a beach in Florida. I mean, that's the end game for me. When I'm done here in Ohio, I'm going to Florida. I don't know that I'll ever actually have a moment where I say I'm retiring and I'm leaving the business, because as we all know, people just don't retire and leave the business. But I probably will just fade away and disappear, and once I'm gone, I want to be at the beach, and I want to be, I want to just enjoy whatever life that I have left, and have a good time, and live, love, and have some fun.
That's fantastic. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Cody Hawk is all about?
Man, you're talking to a guy that's had nearly 5,000 matches.
If you could just narrow it down to the best 2,000.
Well, let's see here recently. Recently here, I've had kind of a blood feud going on with one of my guys here at FGW. Last Friday night, we were the main event on a show that had about 7 or 8 really great matches before us, and I didn't know what we were going to do to top it. It was just a no DQ match. Well, we ended up completely tearing the ring apart down to the bare wood. Took the ropes off, and it turned into a bloodbath. And we were taking bumps on the wood. Well, I should say I was taking bumps on the wood. So there's that, and then the complete contrast to that. The very next night, I wrestled one of my students who was doing a one and done. He trained for a year and a half to have one match to raise money for suicide awareness. And that match, I'm really proud of that match too, because it was his first and last match. And I thought we killed it. 30 seconds in, I ended up blasting him in the face with a elbow, fracturing his orbital bone and bloodying his nose and putting a gash over his eye. And I was able to, communicate with him and make sure that he was okay. And we went on and we continued the match, and he nailed his stuff all spot on. And I was really proud of that match too. So if we're talking current, that's where I'd go. If you want to go back in time, there's a match with Moxley that we did in a cage match. There's a match. There's a bunch of matches that me and Matt Stryker did. One of those being 1 hour and 5 minutes, and that was the first match I had back after breaking my neck. So there's some good ones back there that I really, really liked.
All right. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
No actual doom to be incurred.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready, Cody?
I suppose.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Ric Flair.
Worst wrestler of all time.
Oh, what the hell was that guy's name? I can't even think of his name now. Can I take a pass while I try and think of his name?
Scooter, give him the default
answer. You have chosen Eva Marie.
Perfect.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Jon Moxley. Dean Ambrose, I guess.
Same difference. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Well, Harley Race never really used entrance music, but God, he had heat when he walked out, so I'd love to walk in those boots.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is
a forgotten art.
We also would have accepted is quite good on toast.
Squash, fruit or vegetable?
Match.
Match. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a vegetable.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that. That's an acceptable answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Depends whether you're a guy or a girl, because no one wants to see certain guys' butt cheeks hanging out, but a lot of people, I think, appreciate seeing butt cheeks.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
I have not.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much, Cody, for coming on and doing this with us.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Once again, could you tell us where we can find you on social media, merchandise, everything, Cody Hawk?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, wrestler.codyhawk. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Cody Effin Hawk, Pro Wrestling Tees / Cody Hawk. You can check out Future Great Wrestling on YouTube. We have a weekly show called Shockwave that drops every Wednesday about 7 p.m. And that's and you can catch me live in action every Friday night at the FGW Arena, 190 North Brookwood Avenue, Hamilton, Ohio. And most Saturdays and Sundays, you can find Cody Hawk Wrestling somewhere in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Illinois, somewhere in that area.
And does your school have a website?
It does not have a website. I had a website for years, and it never really did much for me. So I just sort of relegated everything to Facebook and social media. And, Hawks Pro Wrestling Training Academy has its own Facebook page, and you can find out about the training school there.
Okay. And, of course, all your social medias, your merchandise, Future Great Wrestling, all and your wrestling school, all the links for all of that will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. You have no excuses to click them. And you've been listening to him for an hour and a half. By a damn short. And of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Play Over Coffee. Join us next Wednesday as we interview Devontes. The week after that is Isora, and much more coming. You can follow us, the show, at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at JamesJ993. Where can they find Kaliko?
You can find me trying to find the TikTok for Come Original by 311 at I am Kaliko.
And where can they find Scooter?
You can find me on Twitter at ScooterDust, and of course, you can always find me on the Remix along with James, bringing you the only alternate live streaming commentary podcast on the web for WWE pay-per-views and NXT events. And also, don't forget to check out myself along with Rico Constantino Jr. and the rest of the Smoking Dragons clan over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
Now, Cody, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment. Okay?
Sounds good.
For our very special guest, Cody Hawk, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.